Hey, what's going on, guys? Michael Nichols here, also known as Staff Nichols. I'm here with retired Sergeant Major Joshua Celis, one of my really close friends, and we're here just to talk about a school circle. So, with that being said, Josh, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Josh Celis here. I did 23 and a half years in the Marine Corps, retired as a Sergeant Major out of the KC 130 Squadron there in Miramar, known as the Raiders. After serving in the Marine Corps, I realized there's a lot of opportunity out there to give back to our young Marines. And so I'm hoping that this is the start of giving back to the Marines and giving Marines an opportunity to speak. When I was young in the Marine Corps, I would always want to spend more time with senior leaders. That especially the good senior leaders always felt like there wasn't enough time. So hopefully that I could start School Circle up and we could build great things and give our young Marines and servicemen and women an opportunity to learn from our past experiences.
Never quit and never give up.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for quite some time, and like sometimes on Fridays, Josh and I will meet. We'll sit there and brainstorm, and we talk about. So you got. Let's take a step back. I met Josh when he was still active duty in the Marine Corps as a sergeant major on Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. I offered a F-45 workout for all the sergeant majors, and we worked out all the sergeant majors. But Josh was one of those leaders that not only showed up for the workout because it was voluntold, but he actually embraced the opportunity to let me learn, let me engage in the F-45 community. And I think that was the onset of our friendship and relationship. And fast forward 3+ years later, we're still good friends. He's now a veteran. And I've been out of the Marine Corps now for 14+ years, and Josh is in this first year window. And so, long story short, thank you for being humble and being part of my life, Josh.
I definitely appreciate that, brother. You think in the Marine Corps, you get a lot of opportunities to be promoted, and everyone, is telling you you're great, right? And then you have to go out into a new world and start over again. And in order to do that, you have to be humble, and humility is not something that is is easily obtained, because it's easy to say be humble, but to be humble is a whole nother conversation, right? And to me, I'm just thankful that we have a good relationship, and that I'm able to learn from you, and I appreciate you, bro. So
Yeah. So Josh and I have been talking about. He's been talking about, let's do some podcasts. Let's get together. He wants to call his podcast School Circle, which you can see right there, school_circle_82. Tell us what the vision is for School Circle.
yeah, so my idea around School Circle is to talk about some of the tough conversations that young servicemen and women and staff NCOs want to have with the sergeant major, or with someone that has experience that could give back to them, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a sergeant major, but because I obtained the rank of sergeant major, a lot of Marines are willing to listen to me. They call me, they ask me for advice. And so instead of just giving one person advice, I'd like to have that opportunity and platform to give many Marines advice as they, go through their career and then after retirement. So
Yeah. Well, welcome to the first episode of School Circle with Josh Celis and Michael Nichols, aka Staff Nichols. Uh, so let's talk about leadership. Today you were at Camp Pendleton. Tell me what you experienced.
yeah, so I was at Camp Pendleton, seeing one of my good buddies retire from the Marine Corps after 22 years of service to our nation. And you go back after retirement, and it's a different lens that you look at things, right? Part of it is looking back on the past and seeing other Marines that you may have known in the past, and you're crossing, you know, ties with them one more time at this event. Another thing that I noticed, as I go back, is the difference in Marines. Um, Not in a bad way, but each time I go back, there's subtle differences from different units, and that's culture, right? So it doesn't matter if it's the Marine Corps of 2024 or the Marine Corps of 2000. Each culture has a or each unit has its own culture. One of the things that is a part of my passion is trying to get to the Marine Corps and to the larger audience that we need to do a better job of taking care of our senior enlisted servicemen and women. You know, often it's looked at as, or at least it's felt and communicated to me, that we're not taking care of them. As soon as you get promoted to staff NCO, then there's a little bit of, well, they got it, they're on their own. There's not a lot of like one-on-one mentorship. But once you reach the rank in the Marine Corps staff sergeant, you're lucky if you get senior leaders that kind of put their arm around you and say, hey, come here, let me show you something, or hey, let's talk through this. I was blessed throughout my career to do that, but that's based on different people. So when I go back to these retirements, one of the things that disappoints me when I go back is seeing not enough effort and energy putting into taking care of our men and women that have served this country for 20 years. You know, a part of that is individuals. Sometimes individuals don't want a lavish, retirement ceremony. Maybe they want something small. But I think it's the responsibility of the 8999 first sergeant major or senior enlisted of that organization to take care of them. Now, if they want a small ceremony, that's fine, but we still need to do our due diligence, meaning practice. You know, today I spoke to some Marines and they were telling me they practiced that morning. To me, that's unacceptable.
Right.
22 years of service, and we practice the day of. Marines don't do that. You know, and that could be a one-off, but for that unit. So it's just, and it's hard, right? Being a sergeant major and being in an active duty squadron that's flying across the world, and in my unit, we were supporting 3 different sites at one time, right? But we still took time to take care of Marines. There's just no excuse. Yeah. It's what's important, and that's what I'm.
So it's almost like when you pick up staff NCO rank, back to what you said, it's almost like, hey, you're expected to be able to figure it out on your own, and that's not always the case. I was on the podcast earlier this morning, and I, no matter how smart, how good we are in life, we always need a coach. We always need a mentor. We always need somebody to bounce ideas off to make sure that, like come up with the best creative idea. And, without coaching and without mentorship, think about some of the most successful people in the world that get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. They have coaches, they have mentors. Marines are a nonprofit type of, or any military service, but we still need coaches. We still need mentors to help us get to where we want to be in our journey. Like from a leadership perspective, like I did 12 years, 1 month, 13 days. And because I decided to get out at the 12-year mark, it was almost like they didn't give me any honor when I left the military. I just came back from Iraq and got out of the military, and I received no plaque, no nothing, and just, hey, carry on. And I did, we do as Marines, but, giving honor where honors due is extremely important. I've been through many units where, you did your time, you kicked butt, you took names, and because you were outstanding at everything you do, it's almost like the reverence wasn't there to make sure that, you were sent off the right way.
Yeah, you're taken for granted.
Yeah.
That's sad, to me is I know we see a lot of people get on podcasts and they talk about the Marine Corps. What I really would like to see is a consistent way forward on how we standardize the way we send off our good men and women, right? I was talking to a senior enlisted individual today, and he said, well, it's up to the individual Marine on how they want to be sent off. And I disagree with that.
Yeah, some people may just humbly say out, I don't want anything. I don't want a big thing. But one day they're going to wake up and be like, man, I wish I would have.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's like, okay, but the retirement is for the Marine, but it's also for their family members. It's also for our community, right? Like when you bring 45 of your family members, like, so for my friend today, a lot of his family members are in the audience. That's the first time and maybe the last time they're going to step on a United States Marines base, right? And the way you send him off stays in their head. And now they go and they share with the community after 20 years on what they felt was given to their loved one.
Yeah, like here I am 14 and a half years out of the Marine Corps, and I still remember I wasn't sent off the right way.
Right.
And it's one of those things that will stick with you forever. Of course, at being a senior leader, I don't need that recognition, but it still sticks out in the back of my mind. Did I do a good enough job to be honored or respected and sent off the right way?
Yeah, the other part of that is the Marines. So the Marines know. And anybody that served, we all know that the Marines know. They know the individual that put in the most effort in the Marine Corps, and then they see how that individual is sent off. You want to talk about retention Marine Corps? And I'm not talking about keeping the first year, because I know the Marine Corps' plan right now is to grow the age of the force, right? But you got them the first time, right? So you got them to join. Now you got them to stay. Now what happens at the 8-year mark when you want to keep them? And they remember people like you that I know from just being around you. I didn't serve with you as a United States Marine, but just being around you, I know you're an outstanding person. So I know you are an outstanding Marine. So they see you leave, you don't get a plaque. So now the Marines are like, dang, man, I ain't even on the caliber of Staff Sergeant Nichols. How are they going to take care of me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's facts. Like anybody can go out there and we can talk about all the stuff that everybody else talks about, but that is a fact. People go and talk about that and how you take care of those individuals. And so now you got the family members going back to the community, talking about their experience, good, bad, or indifferent. And now you got the junior Marines going back, that some junior Marines, they're staff NCOs that are like, they hold them in high regard for the ones that work hard for them, that the ones that take care of them. And then they go back to the community and they spread what they think.
Naturally, I'm an optimistic person, but it was almost like because I was at the 12-year mark, like when I was in Iraq, my first sergeant pulled me in the office and said, hey, you're our #1 staff sergeant. We have a meritorious gunny opportunity. And because I was getting out, they just let me know, hey, we're going to give it to the guy that's, the second behind you. And I remember when I was in Iraq, I was checking out because I was coming back in January, getting out in March. I started checking out in Iraq, and I went to my sergeant major to, get his sign off, and it was almost like I was shunned because I didn't want to stick around the gun club. And the sergeant major said, basically, what do you think you're going to do? Get out and be successful? That's exactly what I did. Look, sometimes it's fuel for the fire, so I could go out there and prove. At the end of the day, we need to honor and respect our servicemen and women, and they'll stick around if they feel supported, they feel uplifted. And look, I had different reasons why I got out. #1 is I had peace that surpassed all understanding. My wife and I were on the same sheet of music. We wanted something different. But if that was my choice to move on, the senior leaders could have been like, hey, is there anything that we can do to support you as you transition out? Because at the end of the day, military service is going to end no matter what you do after service and how you apply those military skill sets outside of the military is what's really going to define you. And so as leaders, did we force people out or did we empower people out? We do a really good job on onboarding people. And we struggle with helping them transition into their next chapter of life.
I think that's important. And I'm a prime example, right? I always try to get Marines to stay, but because I'm like, hey, you should stay in the Marine Corps. Why are you getting out? Where are you going? What's your plan? If a Marine came in and said, hey, you know what? I love the Marine Corps, but now I got to take my next step in life, then I'm there to support them 100%. But I think the reason why we're so focused on not trying to help on the outside is not because it's malicious. I think it's because a lot of senior leaders that are in the Marine Corps have never transitioned. And that's
which is one of the hardest things. Here's the reality. It doesn't matter what rank you hold, you eventually transition out of the military, no matter what.
And that's the part. It's like, but the Marine Corps makes it difficult, right? Like you can't just transition out in the middle of your career and come back. The Marine Corps is like, nah, you ain't coming back. Doors closed forever. So then you got senior leaders that are trying to guide people. And what do people normally go to? They normally go through what's comfortable. I know the Marine Corps. Why are you getting out? I'm not getting out, so you should stay. And if you don't do what I want you to do, then sometimes it comes off as negative. But now that I'm on the other side, the way that I look at the situation today is completely different. And then when I'm talking to some of the Marines that are still in and they're focused on that stage of life, their blinders are on. Are they humble enough to say, "Oh, let me listen to this guy"?
Yeah,
This guy. Yeah.
I transitioned over 14 years ago. So let's not talk about my journey because things have changed completely. Now there's a thing called Skillbridge where service members can do up to 6 months. Let's talk about your transition from
Ooh.
23 years of active duty into the civilian community. Talk to us
Yeah,
in the school
so
circle.
hey, so one, if you're gonna do Skillbridge, you better make sure you understand what Skillbridge is, right? And what I mean is there's different parts of the Skillbridge and there's different rules that companies have to follow based on the type of Skillbridge you're going for. I think that's very important. That's something that I didn't do. And what's crazy is I just assumed a few things, right? And I gave trust to organizations that maybe I should have kind of read the fine print and asked the right questions. And that's what I've learned. One in the civilian world is you have to ask the right questions. It's like that old movie iRobot from Will Smith. The guy, he's like talking to a hologram and he's like, now that's the right question. That's how I feel in the civilian world is like people don't just offer information to you. You have to know what the right question is, which means you've done a lot of the research to understand that. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is, and you'll hear this in TRS, right? TRS, so they'll say, hey, you got to do a general resume. I disagree with that because every single job posting, you have to tailor the resume to that job posting. Now, what they probably should say is like do a list of accomplishments in a Word doc and then find a good format to move those things into. And I was stubborn because I'm like, oh, the Marine Corps promoted me every single time. I'm a sergeant major. I got my education. I've done everything that my leaders told me to do based on their not ever getting out of the Marine Corps. That's a good point to point out, right? Like
Yeah.
all the people that mentored me up until I met you had never got out of the Marine Corps. So how can they tell me what to prepare for? So I'm like, I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna apply for jobs. And I'm applying for jobs. I applied to a lot of jobs. I can't remember how many, but I didn't get the 2 jobs that I ended up working after the Skillbridge. One was because of your help, right? And introducing me to the right people. And then another one is because I went out and met somebody and they introduced me to the right people or asked the right questions about my resume. And so I think, when you approach transition, a lot of military members are going to wait to do something until like the last minute. 1 month out, 2 months out, 90 days out. None of that is enough time. You got to be looking, if you're transitioning, you should be planning your transition at least 2 years before.
And I think if I remember, I think that you and I, up to 2.5 years before you even got out, some of the key things I started to talk to you about was, hey, the rank on your collar's not going to mean much when you get out of the military. Yes, you may get paid as a veteran at that retired rank, but you got to be able to relate back to people. Who is Josh Celis, not Sergeant Major Celis? And I think that you were coachable and teachable then. And I think that some of the tips and insights that I gave you start transitioning now as early as possible. Yes, there's going to be moments where you need to use your rank to get things done, but can you inspire and motivate people without the rank on your collar? That's the true question because you're just Josh Celis now that just happened to retire as a sergeant major. You have no authority to do much, but enjoy that paycheck. And now it's almost like the military was your internship, and now your real challenge is can you do it without all the bells and whistles to support it? Think
Yeah,
about
I was
that.
telling somebody about my new role, and I was talking to him at the retirement, and I said one of the biggest challenges about my role is it's like being a sergeant major, but without the rank, without the prestige of being a sergeant major. People do things for you because you're a sergeant major. People laugh at your jokes because you're a sergeant major. They might not tell you what's going on because of whatever, because you're a sergeant major. And the only way that they do that is through building relationships. I'm grateful that I met you and I started talking through that. Right. And every time I run into kind of these leadership challenges out in the civilian world, um, it makes me think back like, okay, I know what Sergeant Major Celis would do, but what is Josh going to do to think through all of the, not the first part, because Marines just yell at you, right? Like,
Yeah.
that ain't gonna work. And there's Sergeant Majors out there right now that they're going to struggle because one, you're expected to work as a sergeant major. You work hard because you're doing a lot of things, right? But out in the regular world, when you get elevated to leadership roles, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and it's not what we normally do as Marines.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot, and so for those that aren't working and being humble enough to take advice from others or to elicit advice from other team members, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
And it don't even matter if you're a major. If you're, sergeant and you're being a jerk to everybody, you're not gonna be able to do that in the real world.
Yeah. I was just on the podcast this morning with a guy that he's a business mongo in real estate now. And he was a infantry, made it all the way up to sergeant. And he was telling me when he first got out, he would talk to his colleagues the way he talked to his Marines. And in the beginning, it was a little ruffle,
Oh
a
yeah.
little challenging.
Yep.
So look, but here's what we got to do, like the reverence of other people, like our true leadership challenges. Can we pull the best out of other people? And I recently spoke at Corporal's course, and I came up with this slogan, which I actually shared with you.
Yep.
Which what is a leader? Because when I was going to Corporal's course and talking about leadership and what is a leader, well, there's 4 things that a leader needs to do to become a leader. They need to listen, they need to empower, they need to advise, and they need to develop their people. If they do those 4 things, they morph into a leader, right? And if they do those 4 things, listen, empower, advise, and develop, they become the leader. And then the ship will help carry them forward, right? The backside of the leadership, where they serve you and they work for you, and they, no matter what happens, they will be there for you. But you have to do the front end work in order to enjoy the back end work.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think listen is a good one to kind of talk about, because listening to me is it allows you to gain perspective, right? And perspective, sometimes people don't want the perspective. And what I mean by that is looking at the problem with a 360-degree um, view and saying, hey, before I respond to this, I'm listening. That helps me understand the environment. It helps me look at all of everything that's going on before I open my mouth to respond. That is so vital in every situation as a leader, is listening and to understand, not listening to respond.
Yeah. I mean, many times, and we all do it, in the middle of someone speaking, the thought comes up on how to solve or give insight or give perspective, and then we start interrupting, which I do it, you do it, we all do it. But we have to catch ourselves in this process in order for us to be better at this process, right? And I think that sometimes when you, and I think everybody can relate to this, you get somebody that comes into your unit or your command or your work environment, and they're super gung ho, they're super excited. But then 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years down the road, they're burnt out, they're not inspired anymore. And I think what happens is you're not listening to me. And I've tried to share what I want to do, my perspective. And eventually people just say, you know something, I'm just wasting my breath. I'm not going to talk to them anymore. I might just do my own thing. But I think that as a leader, if you can listen, empower them, advise them, and develop them, that flame that they have when they show up will be there for 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years down the road. And so as leaders, that's our number one priority, is to make sure that we help them meet their goals while
Yep.
I meet my goals as a leader.
Something came up this week for me in a leadership conversation with a lot of people, and one of the things that I realized in that conversation is if you have a team that is struggling for whatever it is, let's say it's maybe they don't understand what their requirement is, maybe they um, they haven't been on a team long, so they don't understand the language of the organization. Now, when I say language, it's not just English, because every organization has a different language. If you go sit in a KC 130 operations room and people are talking and you're brand new in there, you hear English, you understand the English words, but you don't have
But
any
it's
clue what's
Japanese.
going on. Right. So it could be a completely other language. And I said, it's important to understand the number one responsibility of a leader. And to me, it is translating what needs to be done in a way that our people that work with us can execute to what we need to get done. And if they don't execute in some way, where can I get better as a leader? Oftentimes it's like, well, they didn't do what I told them to do, or they did X, Y, Z, and it's all the person that they're leading's fault. But really the responsibility of the leader is to translate that and teach them. And if they can't do it, work beside them to lead them, to motivate them, to inspire them to be better, right? Those things are important because leadership is a privilege. And a lot of times in the Marine Corps, people think it's just, hey, I'm the leader, you do what the hell I say. And leadership is to be earned every single day with each individual. So
I like that. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, at the end of the day, people will listen to you because of the rank on your collar or because you are a true leader that is listening to them, empowering them, advising them, and developing them so they trust you. And so they're going to do what you say, regardless of their. I used to tell my Marines, I said, look, at the end of the day, I'm a freaking staff NCO. If I got busted down today and the rank got taken off my collar because I did something stupid, I still have the leadership skill sets. I'm still a former drill instructor. I don't need the rank on my collar to do what I do every day because I already have the experience. And here's the beauty about life. Here's what especially our service members need to understand. Once you get the information from here, the books, and you get real world tangible experience, it goes to here. And as you develop it, it registers in your heart. And regardless if it gets taken away today, you can repeat that process over and over and over again because you understand it from the inside out. And
yeah.
you don't need rank to do that. All you need to do is have it from here to here, and now you can execute and do it all over again. And for example, let's just say the company that I work with goes out of business. The skill sets I have today could be replicated in any fitness or any other industry throughout the world. I
What's
have that
interesting about
unique
that,
skill
Mike,
set.
what's interesting about that is that your skill set is one thing, but the reason why you'll be successful is because of the way you treat people. That to me is your secret weapon, right? Like, I know, like, the first thing that I do is like ask, is this person genuine? Because when you make it to the rank of sergeant major, you'll make no mistake. You're there in the office of the sergeant major and that you're there to serve the Marines. And a lot of people get that twisted, right? You're sitting there, you're like, I'm the sergeant major. Yes, you're the sergeant major, but you're the office of the sergeant major. And all those powers and responsibilities that go to you is given to you by the United States Marine Corps when they pass the sword to you, right? But it's the way you treat people that will allow you to elevate. And the thing that first thing that I picked up on you is you're genuine, right? And that is important. But you do that over and over and over again, and it gets back to what we talk about, to success in organizations. Why did VMGR 352 KC 130 squadron be the number one squadron of the year in 2023? Sergeant Major Celis was there. No, it's because Sergeant Major Celis went in and said, hey, every single Marine has to be treated the same. Every single Marine has to be accounted for, be accountable. That also includes the leaders in the organizations, what I need to do as a leader, which is what we just talked about. But it's also, and the reason why it's successful is because the way you treat each individual.
Yeah.
You either treat them with genuine care and concern, or you don't. And people pick up on that very rapidly. And if you take care of the people, They will always take care of the organization.
Yeah, I spoke at Corporal's course, and one of the questions is hey, how has internet fame changed your life or affected your life or something of that nature? And my analogy is this way: when you're given power and authority, you have two things you can do with that power and authority. You can crush people, or you can elevate people, and that's a choice. That's an individual choice. Like money, for example, is an amplifier. If you have bad character and you get money, it amplifies that bad character. If you have
Right.
good character and you get money, it amplifies good character and good results. And so at the end of the day, you can look back and see, is there destruction behind me or is there blessings behind me? I choose to use by the grace of God, people know who I am. I get a chance to speak into their lives. I do not take that lightly, and I use it to elevate people and not to crush people.
Yeah, I love that,
That's
man.
that's
And
leadership.
people stick to you, right? They're like, "Oh, I want to go, like I want to be around Mike because Mike I know has the best interest for me and people in general, right?" And I think that's important, man. And people see right through that. That's why you have units and organizations that struggle when you have someone that's being something they're not, or even worse, a hypocrite. Do as I say, not as I do. That right there, boy. And it don't matter what rank you are. If you're a hypocrite, man, and being a hypocrite, we all do. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. We all say things that we may not do or that we've done, right? So when you talk to your kids and you're giving them a life lessons, it's something that you've done that you want them to not do. Or when you're talking to your Marines, you're like, hey, don't do that, X, Y, and Z. And there are things that you violate, but it's your response to that and the responsibility, right? Like, so I tell Marines, don't scream at Marines, right? Because most of the time people are screaming at Marines for their insecurities, right? And I'll give you an example. Let's say you call me first sergeant and I'm a sergeant major, or you call me master guns, and then I have to give you a 15-minute ass chewing because you didn't get my rank right. That happened to me.
It
I
happened to
walk,
me too.
you walk by a sergeant major in the digital camis, you can't tell the difference between a star, a bursting bomb, and a diamond, right? And you're like, good afternoon, first sergeant. And then I get closer and I'm like, oh, that's a sergeant major. Hey, sergeant major, I'm sorry. And then I get cussed out because I didn't call him his right rank. Right? Like, okay. And I've lost I haven't yelled at Marines for calling me the wrong rank, but I've yelled at Marines that after I've got done yelling at them for whatever the situation was, I realized that I failed as a leader, because the first time you start yelling, you've already lost. The only time that I think yelling at a Marine is appropriate is in a safety situation where you need immediate response. Combat, you're about to walk out in front of a bus. If you go and you do something stupid and flag the line with your weapon and you put other people's life at danger, yeah, you should get your ass chewed. I don't care. I don't care what year we're in. If you want to go complain because you chewed somebody's behind out and you be upset because someone chewed your butt out, yeah, go cry to someone that cares. If you're putting a Marine life in danger, you need your ass chewed. Period. Point blank. End of the conversation.
I was in DI school, drill instructor school in 2000, October 2000 to December 2003. I don't know if you ever heard of Sergeant Major by the name of Sergeant Major Vines.
His name sounds familiar. I
Um,
don't think I've ever met him, but
he was the
there's
first sergeant. He was the first sergeant at DI school, and let's just say he was a very unique Marine. And every instructor at DI school was a gunnery sergeant. And so you get so used to saying, yes, gunnery sergeant, no gunnery sergeant. Everywhere you go, it's yes, gunnery sergeant. And then he was walking past me one day, and I said, hey, good afternoon, gunnery sergeant. And he said, oh, and he went on this whole dissertation, and he recited his promotion warrant from staff sergeant to gunnery sergeant to first sergeant, and then basically said, hey, what am I going to do with you? Let's just put it this way. Look, it was an honest mistake. I had the discipline, I had the structure, had the motivation to be there. Of course, I excelled on the drill field and did great things. But was it really worth the 15-minute lecture?
no, but that was all pride. That was all, that it goes to pride in
He was showing me like how smart he was. He recited his promotion warrant,
Mm.
the date it was signed, who it was signed by, and then he went to the next rank.
You know, what that makes me think of is like, did you stand in front of the mirror and like recite this and say, hey, if someone calls me the wrong rank? Or did this start when you were like a staff sergeant and you just said, oh, I'm going to keep doing it and it's so crazy? The one thing that used to kill me, and proper greeting of the day, right? Some of the young Marines that today in today's Marine Corps, you'll say they're supposed to give the proper greeting of the day. But I also think it's incumbent, or that's probably not a good word, but it's also the responsibility of the leader to lead by example.
Yeah.
And we say good morning, good afternoon as a sign of respect between Marines. So why can't a senior leader say good morning to the Marine? What happens a lot of times is they'll say good morning and you don't say anything back. And it goes 3 or 4 times. And then the one time the Marine doesn't say something to you, you got to go give them a lecture about X, Y, and Z. In reality, you as a leader haven't done your job in setting the proper example. Because when a Marine opens their mouth, it's your responsibility to respond to them when they give you the proper greeting of the day. Or even worse, you salute them.
Want to give you respect, right? Like, so when you see this hard charger over there, I'm going that way because I don't want to talk to them, don't want to see them, don't want to say anything to them. Or you the leader, they're like, hey, what's up, Sergeant Major? Hey, what's up, Sergeant? Like, they should be excited to see you because they know that you're on the team. You got to see it at the table, regardless of what rank. And together we're pushing the unit forward.
I want to share a story for leaders out there that I think is important. And I learned 2 different things. This happened to me multiple times in my career, but these 2 situations stick in my head. One was when I was a sergeant, doing things that you don't have to do as a leader, right? It's not the sergeant's job to clean the head, but if we got told a task that's at last minute and now my Marines are cleaning the head, can I go to the store and buy gloves and cleaning supplies and clean the toilet, right? I don't have to do that, right? But if I do that, what's the response? And I had a situation where I thought was unfair for my Marines. So I went into the store because no one had gloves. We had a commanding general coming on deck and they wanted the head spotless. And it hadn't been taken care of for a long time. So you needed to scrub. So I went and got gloves for my Marines and I cleaned the first toilet. And I didn't do that for anything, but my Marines, from that moment forward, every time a Marine was meritoriously promoted, every time a Marine was promoted, they asked for me to pin them on. In radio wire, data, maintenance, all of them. And it's like, but I didn't do that because I wanted it. And then the second story is important for sergeant majors. So I had came off of being on leave or sick or something, and my unit was in 12s. And those in the air wing, they know when you're working 12 on, 12 off, 24 or 7 days a week. And I came back and I could just sense the Marines' morale was low. It was cold outside. It was raining. And so I talked to my motivated gunny, now Mass Sergeant Schindler. And I said, hey, man, like, can we get some coffee for the Marines or something hot, And I went and changed into coveralls. Now, if you've ever worked on a fight line, the coveralls are thin materials compared to camis. And I walked up with her and we were at the hangar door and the rain is blowing sideways. And I seen some Marines in the far line getting ready to tow an aircraft. And I'm standing there looking at the rain like, man, this is going to suck, right? It's cold. But my Marines are out there and I can tell the Marines are miserable. So I went out there and we were outside of the aircraft pouring cups of coffee for the Marines. And then eventually we went inside and just took 10 minutes to drink some coffee with them, see how they're doing, see what I could do to help them. And I went around with my squadron gunny and took coffee to every unit, every section. And what I noticed over the next few weeks is prior to that, Marines, I would say good morning to them. They'd sometimes mumble, good morning, Sergeant Major, whatever, right? But after that, they would scream from the other side of the parking lot, good morning to me.
Hey, Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Yeah. All because I did something that I didn't have to do. And I was doing it from a good place. I didn't do it for show. I didn't go around and say, hey, we're going to go give coffee and like, look at me, I'm whatever. I didn't expect that. I just went around doing something that I know would just a small gesture to show appreciation of and love and concern for my Marines to make sure that their health and welfare was taken care of. And from that moment on, that unit, that was a turning point. A lot of times people are like yelling at the Marines because their camis are just shuffled and they're soaking wet. And it's like, yeah, but they were just outside working on the aircraft, or they were just doing something else. Like, they're messed up. Like, help them. Why are we working 12s? And that's the next thing that I did is like, what's the priority today? What gets us off of 12s? Okay, this is what it is, Sergeant Major. Boom, boom. Then I go talk to the Marines. What's the priority to get off 12s? You don't know? Here, let me tell you. Because I want you to be able to go home at night, because 12-hour days is tough, So
Yeah. No one cares until they know how much you care, right?
That's right.
And look, we're coming up with our time, and so I'll just share one last story. When I first got out of the Marine Corps, I got into real estate market crash. I moved back to Louisiana, where I'm from. I got involved with the convenience store industry, and I started off with 6 convenience stores, grew to 10 in 2 years. We generated my first full year in business. We generated $49.5 million, and very blessed and very fortunate that I had the opportunity. But I didn't know anything about the convenience store industry. I just knew about people and how to take care of people. And I would show up at the convenience stores, and I would go check the bathrooms and go in the cooler and check the cooler. I'm out there scrubbing the toilets, and I own the company. I'm out there changing out the trash in the parking lot, because these are the simple things we did as Marines. Like, everyone asks me, what's the big difference between Marines and civilian sectors? Civilian sectors, for the most part, for profit, right? The military community is not for profit. We learned to take care of the people so the people could take care of the mission. And I just took that skill set and carried it over to the civilian community. And so when I first got on board, the convenience store managers that we had, they wouldn't really talk to me in the beginning, like, yes sir, no sir, whatever, because I'm the owner of one of the owners of the company. But then when they realized, man, he's out there cleaning the parking lot, getting sweaty. He's in the bathroom cleaning because somebody screwed up the bathroom. He's out there cleaning up, mopping, and helping us figure out how to do the computer paperwork. I just knew how to serve people. And because I served people, I was able to quickly gain the respect of people. And fast forward, I think still to this day, I've been gone from the convenience store industry for over a decade now. And I think that I know I left an impact in those people's lives because I came in and served them.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I see in the regular world that I've been in, for a few, months now, is like, if you're a leader, you have to serve your people. It may not be something that you think initially should be your role, but if you do something that people view as below your station, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning the toilet, taking out the trash, doing those things that you mentioned is absolutely vital. I would share something to you. I'm very thankful that you're my friend, my brother, and that you've been in my life, because without your support, my road and journey to where I am today would have been a lot harder. And that is something that is very grateful for me. And it goes back to the beginning of what we said. Staff NCOs are taken for granted. We don't do what we're supposed to do and mentor, motivate, and inspire them by leading shoulder to shoulder with them. And my whole career, I was blessed to have some people in the right time, in the right moment. And for my transition, you were at the right time in the right moment. And I appreciate it. And you still are to this day.
Oh,
so thank you.
Look, I can only coach, teach, and mentor people that are coachable, teachable, and that's the bottom line. It's at the end of the day, if I have all this information and I try to share it with somebody that doesn't want to hear it, then there's nothing I can do. I think it's a double-sided coin, heads and tails. Like, together, you and I have become like brothers. You are an amazing man that have risen to the highest ranks in the military, and you're still humble, you're still coachable, you're still teachable, and that's why I call you my friend.
I appreciate you, brother. Well, thanks, man. And this is an example of it, right? Because we've been talking about these podcasts for a while, and I think me and you could be a powerhouse in this
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this week.
So if you are listening to this and you have followed this entire podcast, drop a comment. Tell us some things that you would like me and Josh to cover. We'll give it to you raw. We'll give it to you right, and we'll make sure that we give you insight and wisdom so you can make the most knowledgeable decision you can in your journey. At the end of the day, you don't have to do life alone, but you have to do it regardless if you do it good, bad, or indifferent. So God bless, simplify, and we'll talk to you next time. Hoorah.
Hoorah.